Hello guys, welcome to narsicloud.com. In this series, I'm going to talk about CSS concepts. So CSS is very interesting, and if you understand it right, you can create wonders with it. But if you just miss a bit of it, it's gonna get complicated very easily, and you'll go into weeds, and it's very difficult to work with CSS at that point. So it's very important to get basic understanding of it and how does that work, the flow works in CSS. So that's what my goal. So my goal in this series is to make it easier to understand CSS and to be able to apply those concepts to your web applications. So eventually, right? So I'll start with basic concepts and then I'll take it forward to advanced level, right? So today I'm going to start with the very basics to get a feel of CSS and what it is and how does it look like to work with CSS by taking some of the basic elements, and we will get into depth as we make these videos going forward, right? So today let's start with a couple of elements like the CSS elements like to apply on div, on some of the HTML tags like div, the text, and focus on how can we apply styles to that basic HTML tag, right? So that's what our goal is, and for that we are using CodePen editor. So let's get started. Let's start with div, right? So obviously you guys know, I hope you have some understanding on HTML already, right? So if not, I will make videos on HTML as well in the other series, but this series is so focused on CSS, so make sure that you have some basic understanding on HTML as well before you dive into these videos. So div is one of the elements in HTML where you can, that's kind of section, right? It's you can create sections in HTML page. So that's what we use div for. So div is called, okay, is the name itself, it says division, right? So that is one HTML tag. So if I want to apply some style to it, I mean, obviously here you don't see anything, right? Div is just a container. You don't have any element with it within that. So let's create some sample text here. Let's say a box, right? So that's a box text, right? So without applying CSS, this is how it looks. So it's basically the bare bones of it, right? It doesn't look pretty. So how could we apply CSS to it? So there are two ways you can apply CSS, by means of class or by means of ID. Okay. So here for the demo purposes, we can just go with class. So you can create CSS class, you can name it whatever you want, but here to avoid confusion, you can name it like box color, right? So here this is the syntax of class declaration in CSS. So here you can specify the CSS properties. So if you look for it, there are lots of properties here, but here in today's class we're gonna focus on border, padding, and margin, right? What is padding, what is border? So let's give border. Border is basically drawing the box around the content, right? That's what we call it as border. So let's give width of 1 pixel, and what type of border it is, and color you can give red, right? So that is a border, and so let's apply that. So basically here for div element, so you can apply the class which is box color. So if you just save that, see, you got the box, right? So what we did just now is div is a container, box is this paragraph element is within that container, right? By default it doesn't have any box like that. As soon as we give the border, we can see that with the 1 pixel and solid box we give the color red, right? So right now we just update the border. So now let's talk about padding, right? Let's see, I'm gonna give values there, see what happens here. So I'm gonna give 50 50 50 50. See what happens. It automatically increases this space between the border and the content, right? So, and also you can see the same amount of space happen here and also here, and it will be there as well on this side. But since we don't have border, I mean the container here, you cannot see that space, but there is space around that element. So what exactly is padding? So let's remove this. So you can see there are 4 values in padding, right? So that says is it goes in the clockwise direction. So padding means the first is the top of this element, and then second one is the right side. So writes the padding right to that border here, right? So it ends up here, and then it comes to it clockwise, right? It's a padding bottom, and it comes here on the side padding left. So those are the 4 values that represents padding. So ideally padding, the basic definition of padding is it's within the element. So if you see this div, if you consider this div is an element, the padding acts between that container and the content of that. So here the padding is space between this div and the content. That's what we call as padding. It is within the element. So as you remove this, let's say if I add 50 pixels, right? So you got 50 pixels here in this case, and since there is only one value, it applies on by default applies on all the sides. So if you apply here, then it's already there, right? So and then you can put that. So if you remove that and see 0 pixels or padding gone, right? Then if you just 50 pixels and you got all the 4 sides again. So basically as you are adding the values, so for example 5 pixels, so let's start with 0, right? It went back to that, and 5 pixels, as you are adding it started there, right? And then if you just add this, it got this side, and then if you add 5 pixels more, you got on that, and finally if you remove that, it got on the left side as well. So as you put that, it adds that space around that content within the element. So that's why we are calling it as within the element. So right now if you see around this border, there is no space, right? So that's where the margin comes into picture. Margin talks about around the element. So here if you just see, let's say I give 50 pixels and see, you see that here it added the space around the element. So here what is the element here? It's a div. The margin added 50 pixels around the element on all sides, right? So we just reduce that space to 5, and you can also give like this, so it adds on all sides. So here 5 5 5. So just to summarize, padding is within the element and margin is surrounding the element. So we just applied the CSS class, all these elements, all these properties to this element. So we styled this the div element of HTML. So it's pretty simple concept. This is the very core, the basic concept of how could we apply CSS to HTML, right? So for today, let's end up with this concept, and tomorrow I'm gonna get into more details on our next videos. So stay tuned, guys, and if you like this video, please click on like button, and please do subscribe. You'll get to see more videos like this, and let's learn it together. Thank you. See you guys. Bye.